Number 4.
Denver, I moved them down. 9-game winning streak, but it's a lot of one-score games, and they could have lost to Washington. They have trailed in all 12 games this season. I mean, if you told me a high seed lost in the first round of the playoffs, I think we'd all go, Denver? I just don't think their offense is even enough. There are times like this week when Washington moved the ball up and down the field. That's troubling. You hope it's just a one-off. The Rams played. Their defense stunk this weekend. I have Denver at 4.
I mean, yeah. The fact that you thought that the Rams were the best team in the NFL and that their defense was imperfect, it just doesn't, it kind of highlight that just because you have a great offense or just because you have a great defense, does that really mean that you're just going to consistently just shut out teams and hang 35 points game after game after game after game after game? You know, like you got to have some wiggle room. You also have to let other players and other teams be able to shine at various moments. Marcus Mariota played an awesome game. He had an awesome game. Cliff Kingsbury is a great offensive coach. He is a great coordinator. He is a great play caller. He had Debo. He had Z going. He had Terry McLaurin. Like, you know, he had those pieces to work with. Dan Quinn is a great defensive mind. He's taken, you know, apparently a little bit more of a back seat, but I'm sure as someone who's, you know, dealt with Sean Payton for quite a bit of time, he's going to have some thoughts on how to slow down the Denver Broncos offense. And I loved what I saw out of this Broncos team on was it Sunday, I guess, already? Yeah, on Sunday. I loved it. I thought it was a great game by the Broncos. I'm not expecting a defense to just consistently swallow you up and get you, especially a quarterback who's pretty versatile as Marcus Mariota, you know? I mean, and I think for me, watching Mariota play all this time now, especially when he's combined with the right coach, he is very much like the mobile version of the Sam Darnold, the Daniel Jones. I know some of those quarterbacks are mobile, but like Marcus Mariota was really seen as like a poor man's version of what Mahomes became. Lamar, Josh Allen, et cetera, et cetera. It just obviously didn't turn into that. But he has that potential where if you give him the right team, you give him the right coaching staff, you could be like, oh, I'll pay this guy like 20, 30, 40 million, you know, like I'll give him some money. Like he could be the quarterback. Like we can win games here. He's not just this, oh my gosh, we all just got to, you know, cross our fingers and hope for the best here. Like that's not who he is. And just like Sam Darnold's not, just like Daniel Jones is not that, just like how Baker Mayfield's not that. And I would put Marcus Mariota in that category at this point. Honestly, it's a little bit different since he is a mobile quarterback. It's like he's both going to age faster, so not last as long, but also adds a degree of variability that's just not always the easiest to control for. And I would say it's even harder against a backup quarterback who has that level of mobility, because you're kind of just like, you know, it's not Mahomes, it's not, you know, it's not Josh Allen, you know, it's not Lamar, but like you're like, so what are you capable of doing in any given moment? And that's why you see moments of Marcus Mariota where you're like, whoa, this guy can sling it, this guy can play. You're like, this guy can make some moves. And you're like, wow. And then other moments you see him and you're like, wow, okay, yeah, he's not, he's, you know, he's a backup. So which we see with the Sam Darnold, with Daniel Jones, with the Baker Mayfield, and on we go. So yes, you're going to have games when a team like the Commanders can go play against the Broncos at home after the holidays, right? Sunday night football. Yeah, you're going to have it. You're going to have some games like that. No doubt. What's funny to me is, and I just as someone who believes in the Packers and supports the Packers, I want to use the Packers as a reference point because he said, you know, I'm concerned about the Broncos, blah, blah, moving them back. He had them at number 2, and I had already discussed that before, and they were number 2, and I was like, should that be where they are? I don't have strong views in terms of the exact set number, et cetera, but I was just like, you know, it's worth considering. And he had the Packers, like, first he had them number 1 in the beginning of the season. Then he had them out of the top 10 for a while. And then after that Eagles game, he was like, I don't know what Jordan Love's not that good. He's not special. He's not great. Now he's on the train of, like, the Packers fixed their offense. Jordan Love is elite. Stop questioning it. And, like, after that Eagles game, they beat the Giants, who are terrible. We know that. And they still almost lost that game. Game came down to the wire. Then they beat the Vikings, who we know are awful and an absolute mess. And they beat the Lions, which was an awesome game and an awesome win by the Packers. No doubt about it. It was my favorite game of the holiday. On that Thursday that I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I loved the quarterback play. Jordan Love made some awesome plays, etc., etc., etc. The Lions are not even a playoff team right now. That's just the reality. They're not in the playoffs. They're not this top, big dog contender. So, FA play beating 3 straight teams that are not in the playoffs right now, to me, is not necessarily fixing that offense. Now you can say, hey, but like you had a close game against the Commanders. The Commanders are in a playoff team. And it's like, yeah, 100%. I totally hear that. But at the same time, the Commanders have enough continuity from coaching, from roster construction, even their backup quarterback. And yes, it is a backup quarterback, but the Commanders were in the NFC Championship game last year. And they were building something that they believed could have been better. And I believe it would have been. Or just as, much of a contender. This is not a team that's just completely circling the drain. Now, to be fair, too, they've been injured throughout the course of a season of different depths and different degrees. When they played the Seahawks versus when they played the Chiefs and, all of that type of stuff. If the Broncos absolutely rolled the Commanders, I very much would have been like, that's not really doing much. He did it against a backup quarterback. This team's kind of a mess right now. They're not going anywhere, etc., etc. That would have been my take. But now when I watch that game and I see how the game unfolds, I'm like, yeah, this is a team that's bringing it right now. We're watching the Commanders play high quality football, high coaching on both sides of the ball. Like, that is what I'm watching. So that is what I'm judging them on. Like, that is then the evaluation of how I'm evaluating that game. And so to me, then, it's a great game. It's a close game. It's a game that I really thought that the Broncos handled and managed and played well. I mean, they were in control of that game. I think probably start to finish, if memory serves me correctly. So I'm not going to knock them and now push them backwards in that moment and feel confident in pushing the Packers forward for beating the Minnesota Vikings with J.J. McCarthy and beating who Colin thinks is not even a backup quarterback at this point, and beating, I assume it was it Jameis Winston at that point? And like an fired coach. I'm pretty sure Brian Dable had already been fired as well. Like, so it's just like, the Lions is more of an impressive win, a divisional game, etc., etc. And again, I'm not knocking the Packers. I'm not even arguing that the Packers shouldn't be 3 or that they should be 2 or 1. Like, that's not the point. But my point is just to illustrate the logic. That if you're using the logic to elevate the Packers, then there's no logic that you should then watch this game with the Broncos and the Commanders and say, I'm going to now pull them back. That doesn't make sense to me, especially because the game before that, we saw what they did against the Kansas City Chiefs. So having a close game where Bo Nix elevates and played one of his best games of his career, and you're concerned about the offense. Like, that's the concern about this Broncos team, is the offense isn't good enough. The offense isn't good enough. Now you see that offense. You see Boyks actually elevate and take a step forward, and now you're more concerned. You have less confidence in the Broncos. This game makes me feel more confident about the Denver Broncos, and I really mean that. I feel way more confident if they won this game 21-0, but there was, a strip sack, a scoop, and fumble, and an interception that got taken to like the 20-yard line, right? And then they were able to, a couple plays, they were able to walk it into the end zone, but they won 21-0. It wasn't even close. They blew out the Commanders. I'd be like, yeah, but and Bo Nix like kind of had a little bit of an inconsistent game, was missing on the deep balls and et cetera, et cetera. Then I'd be like, yeah, they beat him good. The Commanders aren't that good of a team. The defense showed up. Didn't really learn much about this offense. Didn't see any steps forward with Bo Nix. I'd feel exactly how I felt about them before. But this game, a close game now, even albeit against a non-playoff team, I see the quality of play that Bo Nix brought. I see the elevation of that offense. I'm like, yeah, great, awesome. I feel better about this team right now. Like, that's the logic. That's the lens that I'm using, that I'm looking at the Denver Broncos right now. So it's pretty funny. This is why sports talk shows are crazy, because again, last week or whenever it was, when the Broncos were 2, I just threw out the question, should the Broncos be 2? Not so sure. I'm not sure. And a Broncos fan, which I told you guys this before, Broncos fan was like, I'm no longer watching you, like you're crazy, because like I guess I have to only say nothing but 100% positives about the Broncos. I can't question them. I can only say nothing but positives, otherwise, I'm bad at what I do. And now they go down to 4 and I'm like, well, let's have a conversation about this. And it's fake. To me, I'm interested in the conversation more than the actual conclusion itself. And for this type of style take, it's like I'm just trying to figure out the logic that Colin is using. And it's like, okay, well, if we're using this logic, then why does this logic not apply then in this situation? So that's just how I get enjoyment out of it. I don't get the enjoyment of just trying to figure out exactly the number where the Broncos should be and where the Patriots should be. Like, we can make, I could make a list like this. I always talk about this. It's like I can write my top 10 teams, wait an hour, and then make a top 10 list again, and it'll be completely different. And it'll just keep changing. It's just like, I don't know. Maybe the Broncos should be 2. I don't know. Maybe they're 1. I guess I have an argument they could be 5. Like, it just changes no matter what. So, I don't get too lost in the numbers, honestly. I care more about how you're reaching the conclusions. So, I just think that his explanation for the Broncos and his concerns and why he moved them back doesn't make any sense to me. It just doesn't make any sense to me. You should feel better about the Broncos after that game. You absolutely positively should feel better about the Bronco. You're not going to all of a sudden be concerned about this defense now. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Denver Broncos? Moving back, Colin's concerns after the Washington Commanders game did that go down as just one of the least discussed games in NFL history? It's like that game did not happen. I don't think anyone talked about it really on Monday or Tuesday. I'm like trying my best to make clips about it, and it just like doesn't exist. You'd think the team, especially at that time, was the number 1 seed, and they still are technically, because it's like, because of the bye, they just beat the Raiders and they're tied with the Patriots. They're the number 1 seed. So like, for all intents and purposes, like, this is the number 1 seed, and yet we're like just not discussing it. Like, and it was an awesome game. It was an exciting game. Like, Bo Nix played awesome. Like, he had unbelievable throws. I don't understand. I don't understand. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Denver Broncos? And step back. I think I already said this, and then I went back on another tangent. So, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.